Republicans cannot stop posting cringe on Twitter about vaccines. Even after, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene got kicked off Twitter for posting cringe on vaccines. So now the latest example came from Representative Thomas Massie, who posted something so idiotic, so dumb, so mind-bogglingly smooth-brained that he, in hindsight, thought, oh no, I'm going to have to delete this. Delete. Gotta get rid of it. Now, you all know everything on the internet is forever. That's the rule. So, of course, it was caught by a reporter, Andrew Kaczynski of CNN's K-File, and now it is, once again, it is forever. And so I'm going to show that to you. So prepare for the cringe, and you're not going to be surprised. Here we go. If you have to carry a card on you to gain access to a restaurant, venue, or an event in your own country, that's no longer a free country. And of course, you can see writing on the wrist. This is another reference to the Holocaust. That one definitely should have stayed in the drafts, bro. Just saying. Why is it? I mean, more than anybody, conservatives break Godwin's law. Okay? Everything comes down to Nazis, Holocaust, when it's nowhere near comparable at all. At all. And so, look, I'm gonna make a comparison here. Okay, I'm gonna make my own comparison. So now the irony about the outrage about vaccine passports, okay, is that weirdly enough, yeah, they say, oh, I don't want to have to show a card or an ID or anything like that. No, to go anywhere. Oh, really? Well, you're the same people that are in favor of an ID to vote. Why is that? Again, this is asking people to go and get vaccinated and then show people the card to show that you are not carrying an infectious disease that will infect other people, so that people can actually have a safe place to gather and enjoy themselves and have a fun time without having to worry about bringing COVID home to their families. So now the difference, of course, between the voter ID and the vaccine cards is one thing is for public health. And the other thing is a political ploy to reduce the number of people voting. Okay? Now, obviously, voter ID is 100% political ploy to stop people from voting. I mean, what it does is it erects barriers to casting your ballot, which does primarily affect poor people. While, of course, getting vaccinated is free. You can literally go to your local drugstore, get your first dose in like 5 minutes, and then, of course, if you can't do that, and there are plenty of people who can't, there's big problems with access to poor communities in getting the virus. And in fact, there's a lot of people think, as a result of America's horrific healthcare system that generally tends to crush people in the dirt, this time, the vaccine, as I mentioned, is free, but people, because of that, think, that's going to cost me money. I can't afford to get a vaccine. That's expensive. I don't have insurance. And so those are significant issues. And a lot of that is being, again, there are plans to go out and have outreach programs that will, basically help to get people vaccinated, low-income Americans. They've been putting out pop-up clinics. There have been people that are going out and basically treating it kind of like a political campaign, doing door-to-door, knocking on doors, things like that. Now, notice that none of that happens when Republicans say, we'll do voter ID. Okay, do they make sure that everyone who needs an ID can get an ID? Do they help communities, low-income communities? Do they go and knock on doors and say, this is how you can get your ID. I will help you. We'll bus you. We'll take you all in so that you can get your voter ID so that you can vote in this election, and we can make sure things are secure. No, no, they don't. And that is the big difference. None of that happens. And that's, by the way, also the difference between us and other countries that do have a mandatory voter ID. They make it as easy and as simple as possible and accessible as possible for people to get registered and to have that voter ID. But in America, understand that this is made purposely difficult in order to prevent people from voting. And by the people, I mean there are certain people they prevent from voting. And so, and of course, those people happen to be people of fewer means. So that said, I'm making that comparison, but obviously we're not talking about voting. We're talking about vaccine passports, okay? So let me be clear. Vaccine passports are not the same as abducting and murdering millions of people. Just saying, having to show a little card at the door ain't the same. And no, it's not going to lead down that slippery slope. All right, that's just not going to happen. Now, what proof do I have? Well, I have history on my side. Turns out we already have vaccine passports. Hell, even the people that are pushing this notion that vaccine passports are fascism literally work at Fox News that has a vaccine passport system. But anyway, so now you might notice that we have vaccine passports to get to school. You have vaccine passports to go and travel to certain places, certain countries, or else they will not accept you if you are not, for example, vaccinated for yellow fever. And there is a long history of this. Back in 1885, U.S. border officials often required passengers to provide evidence that they had been vaccinated from smallpox. So now, generally, there was a scar that you would get or pockmarks in the face showing that you had smallpox. And during a series of smallpox outbreaks across the United States from 1898 through 1903, turns out many states had actually authorized compulsory vaccinations. They will force those vaccines into your arms. While other leaders sought to use the power of public and private institutions to pressure reluctant Americans into accepting the smallpox vaccine. Yes, we actually did that in America. We forced people to get vaccines. Oh my God! No! Oh God, how dare you! Oh my God! Freedom! I thought this was America! There's more. Employers also across the country had acted to make smallpox immunity a condition of employment. Factories, mines, railroads, and other industrial workplaces with tight quarters were particularly forceful in demanding proof of vaccination. Back in 1903, Maine's government decreed that no person be allowed to enter the employ of or work in a lumber camp cannot show a good vaccination scar. So you get the point. We've had this for a very long time. And of course, history not only shows that anti-vaxxers are not only wrong, but of course have always been wrong. In fact, one Illinois writer back in 1923 said, quote, "A scar from forced vaccination is a brand, a mark of medical tyranny and despotism." This is back in 1923. In 1893, a Raleigh newspaper carried the account of an elderly man recalling anti-vaxxers of earlier decades who believed that childhood vaccines would lead young people to develop what they called bovine propensities. Did turn them into cows? Is that what? Okay, all right. Some, he remembered, regarded a vaccination scar as the mark of the beast. Of course, a reference to Revelations and the Bible. So now, the reason I point this out, again, history, all right? We've seen this before. We've heard all these excuses before to not get vaccinated, okay? We're seeing it now. We've seen it before. This has already happened. And I'll tell you the end result of the smallpox vaccine, just in case you're still confused at what actually happened, or you know, I'm going to spoil the plot of that movie, right? But the same arguments, the same kinds of people that push fake cures, snake oil, do massive disinformation, scream freedom. Well, history illustrates what eventually happens. Turns out that if you had since we had stringent enforcement of smallpox vaccination requirements over the span of decades, eventually pressured vaccine-hesitant populations to accept them, and as a result, the United States effectively eradicated smallpox within its borders by the middle of the 20th century. And then, of course, by that time, we went on to fight the Nazis, win, and of course, ironically, bring some of them over to work for the United States government, but during Operation Paperclip. But that's another history lesson. Point is, anti-vaxxers are wrong, and they're full of shit. And I'm saying these are the people. I'm saying that of the people who are spreading this disinformation willfully. Okay, that are using the same kind of tired old wrong rhetoric to push anti-science, anti-life agendas, and nonsense conspiracy theories. Now, as a result, you have a population of people that, regular people essentially, that are conned into believing these things and sometimes get seriously ill, spread the virus around, sometimes even incubate a new and worse variant of said virus, or either dying or suffering long-term damage to their bodies or infecting their loved ones. So, yeah, that is what's going on right now. Anti-vaxxers are the ones keeping COVID-19 around. This is why we still have this issue. They are taking away our freedom to return to somewhat of a normal life. They have infringed upon us. Stop treading on us, bro. Get your boot off our necks. We're over this. We're over this shit, and we're over you. Get a goddamn clue, and then get a vaccine. Stop. Now, as far as Thomas Massie is concerned, Thomas Massie's a turd. He's a piece of crap. He's going to get people killed, probably already has, and is right now clutching them pearls by putting out that incredibly cringe, insulting tweet. I mean, think about the survivors of the Holocaust and how they might feel about this little comparison. Pretty sure they're not happy about it. Then, you realize how fucking dumb this entire discourse around vaccination is. One more thing, by the way, just a fun note about Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie also had put out a tweet last year that was once again incredibly cringe. So cringe that former Secretary of State John Kerry was able to dunk on him. Here's what Kerry tweeted. Breaking news, Congressman Massie is tested positive for being an asshole. He must be quarantined to prevent the spread of his massive stupidity. He's given new meaning to the term masshole. Look, let me just say that when John Kerry can dunk on you, that's it. You're done, son. Go home. Clean up, go home. You're not coming back from that one. We're never, ever going to live that down. Sad. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.